If you're a fan of history, you probably understand that no empire has ever stayed number one in history. Every empire that ruled before America at some point was the most powerful, but at some point that empire collapses. Just as we are seeing with America. In today's video, we will be talking about 15 facts that show America is collapsing. Everywhere we look, we see that the United States is in a lot of trouble. America's domestic supply chains have been badly damaged and disruptions continue to pile up, causing more shortages, which lead to higher prices all over the country. We've never been in such a dangerous position for getting hacked. Cybersecurity experts predict that the US's economic system is likely to be heavily disrupted by cyber attacks. There's an influx of new technologies in this sector, and most operations rely heavily on it. Our markets are starting to get a little unsteady, with the stock market recording billions in losses each week. In addition to that, the housing bubble is about to burst again, and we're also dealing with a devastating energy shortage on top of all that. And the lack of fuel and electricity is causing a significant production slowdown and food shortages. Before we get into the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. All these things are happening at the same time as our geopolitical conflict with other major nations is growing, and many new problems are arising each day. Here are some interesting stats, forecasts, and other important data which we have collected. That way you have an idea of the issues this country is going to be facing. Without further ado, here are 15 facts. The U.S. supply chain is in crisis mode now, but it's not just due to one specific incident. Chaos has been spreading to major ports on the West Coast, with ships queuing for days because the congestion is so bad. Seems like not every port is as efficient when it comes to handling containers. The recent report mentioned that the world's largest ports are in LA and Long Beach, yet these two don't rank first for container efficiency. It's projected that our supply chain will be subject to many more changes, disruptions, and congestion as peak shipping season approaches. As a result, there are some potentially high costs for consumers and producers alike to deal with. Growing keeps increasing in price for American families, and it's becoming much more heavily relied on than other necessary costs like mortgages or health insurance. Taxes from the Fed are not the only factor, and inflation is making items we buy every day more expensive. Despite the current global commodity market, 3 cyber attacks have been made trying to disrupt gas supplies, raw materials, fertilizers, and grains. This warning comes from a farmer. John Boy Jr., the president of the National Black Farmers Association. He reveals that poor planting weather across much of the country, higher prices on seeds, higher prices on fertilizer, and higher prices on fuel are hurting black farmers. Not only does it seem that an increasing number of farmers are abandoning their crops, there's also a huge supply chain issue. It seems things are getting bad, and we'll see empty shelves and high prices soon. According to Bank of America, the inflation rate for food is expected to continue its historic rise through the end of this year. Bank of America analysts, led by Alexander Lin, said in a note on Thursday that they expect U.S. food prices to rise another few. The U.S. economy has been in a productivity depression for over 10 years, now with even worse labor productivity growth than before. April factory activity faced its worst slowdown in 1.5 years. Reuters recently announced a decrease in workers at the midrise. Some of their jobs and manufacturers are experiencing supply chain issues. The weakness in manufacturing has now begun to spread to the service industry. The chief investment officer of Bleakley Advisory Group, and now the effects of this decline are threatening to ripple through other sectors of the economy. On top of everything we've already touched on, remember the fuel and electricity shortages we were having? Well, things are really bad. It's really warming up outside. Why not try and avoid a serious energy crisis? As they stare down the throat of a power outage, grid operators are warning that we're in danger of rolling blackouts in the next few weeks and months. There have been warnings of an upcoming energy crisis and soaring prices in the past. It would be best to prepare for this by having a backup plan and emergency strategy in place. The U.S. is among the 75 countries that are at high risk of civil unrest by 2022. The American ranking on the index has sharply declined over the past year. From 91st to 34th, social unrest rates are likely to remain high in the coming years, and the dramatic increase will be due to food insecurity and erosion of mechanisms that have prevented it so far. The instability and rush to take control will surely happen during a time of economic recovery post-pandemics. People are already dissatisfied with the government. What if that leads to this? The experts have their concerns about a virus that could spread. There's also been some dangerous mutations in the U.S. The CDC has confirmed 25 cases of monkeypox, an animal-borne virus, with variants circling across the country. Experts are weighing various possible explanations for the quick spreading of this disease. It is possible that a few important events gave the virus a chance to be spread, or monkeypox may have evolved to better transmit from human to human. Another possibility is that the virus was spreading undetected for some time. Even if not another health emergency, extreme weather can still shut down much of the business world. Think of the 20-plus different sorts of natural disasters dealt with in 2017. There were 9 extreme weather emergencies, and each one resulted in millions of people losing their jobs and businesses shutting down for a while. If a former geopolitical strategist like George Beebe says it, it must be true. Apparently, the Biden administration may run the risk of forgetting that preventing a nuclear conflict with Russia is the most important national interest of the United States. When the Russians lose, the other sides are going to lose too, and it's possible that the Russians want their weaknesses exposed. The Russians may be more inclined to put conflict postures out there now than they were before Warren's 2013 conflict with China. America may enter into a conflict with China as well if China gets too powerful. During a press conference earlier this year, one reporter asked Biden. He didn't want to get involved with the Ukraine conflict militarily for obvious reasons. Have you ever thought about going to war with China because of Taiwan? If push comes to shove? The apology came not too long afterward, but the president said he misunderstood the question. And China was furious over issues that affect China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. There can be no room for compromise. That's the warning from Wang, a spokesman for the Chinese Foreign Ministry. We urge the U.S. to respect the One China policy, not act carelessly on Taiwan and send the wrong signals towards independence and separatist forces. This will ensure they don't hurt the current situation, which is stable. When asked about recent economic changes, Edward Moyer said that the U.S. economy is in danger. Losing the Fed's bond buying program will drag down our economy. The United States economy is one risk that is steadily decreasing thanks to sound money management by the Federal Reserve Board. By fighting inflation with a few rate hikes, the central bank ensured healthy and consistent growth during 2018. On the same note, Jeff Wenger shares his views on equity strategy at Wisdom Tree Asset Management. He says that the Fed is likely to heighten interest rates 6 more times this year, which is a very risky move in the current environment where gasoline, goods, and services prices are continuously increasing. This could be bad for your bottom line and lead to another financial slide. By the end of 2022, the experts said we're looking at a 15-week downturn. Economists, like the Fed, find it hard to predict when recessions will happen. This is because we usually only know about a recession once it's happening. Tara Sinclair of the George Washington University only says this in general, as policies can change. Economists are considering the possibility of a recession in their predictions and are not focusing on anything else. In normal circumstances, a recession is described as a significant decline across the economy that lasts for more than 1 or 2 months. Chris, who is the current chairwoman of Evercore ISI, indicates that there will be another recession. Apparently, this is because a lot of sharks are coming in. This data may come from NACUA and Chris.